We are increasingly confronted by a complex tapestry of global challenges. These challenges threaten not just the stability of our nations, but the very essences of our freedoms. It's time to look into these issues, not merely to just discuss them, but to forge a clear and actionable path forward. We are here to catalyse a movement, to inspire a robust response to these threats, and to articulate a vision for a future that honours our rich heritages, while fiercely defending our sovereign rights. We are facing a time, unlike any before, where the risk of another world war is looming. The spectre of global conflict looms larger by the day. Geopolitical tensions simmer across continents, from the assertive military postures of nations like Russia and China to the delicate power balances in Eastern Europe and the tinderbox of the South China Sea. These regions represent flashpoints capable of escalating from Cold War confrontations to full-scale wars that could draw in the United States, NATO allies, and other global powers into a devastating conflict reminiscent of the world wars of the last century. Such a war today would be catastrophic, fought with modern technology and potentially dragging on for years. The impacts would reverberate globally, leading to massive economic downturns, disruptions in global trade, and a generational loss in many countries as young men and women are sent to fight on foreign soils. The societal void left behind would be profound, affecting not just the countries directly involved in the conflicts, but also their allies and partners around the world. Amidst these international crises, domestic challenges loom large. In the United States, as we approach a significant electoral milestone, the fabric of democracy is tested by the spectre of health crisis, such as the potential emergence of a new pandemic. Recent reports concerning the H5N1 avian bird flu virus crossing from birds to cattle in Texas are alarming. This development could signal the beginning of a new health emergency, one that might lead governments to impose stringent lockdowns akin to those experienced globally in recent years. In addition to the myriad of challenges we've discussed, there is a burgeoning concern that deserves our focused attention and immediate consideration. Reports and discussions within international policy circles suggest a potential scenario where the World Health Organization, with the backing of the United Nations, could take unprecedented steps in response to global emergencies or other crises. There is a growing unease, and these bodies might not only mobilize, but potentially draft hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants into their service under emergency service. The implications of such actions are profound and multifaceted. It's speculated that these individuals could be given police-like powers, including the authority to arrest and enforce specific globalist policies directly impacting the sovereignty of nations and the civil liberties of their citizens. This scenario paints a disturbing picture, where an international body could exert direct control over domestic affairs, bypassing national laws and local enforcement mechanisms. The notion of granting such powers is not without precedent in international dealings, but introducing this on a scale involving potentially hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants in our respective countries raises significant legal and ethical questions. How would these powers be regulated? What oversight would ensure that these powers were not abused? These questions highlight the need for vigilance and proactive engagement in international governance forums. The fact is, these illegal migrants are just that, illegal. The potential for international bodies to draft non-nationals and grant them enforcement powers within sovereign nations could lead to a significant shift in how laws are enforced and how citizens perceive their own governments and international institutions. Such measures could exacerbate existing tensions between globalist perspectives and nationalist sentiments, potentially leading to increased civil unrest and further erosion of trust in both national and international institutions. Freedom Train International wants to address these concerns head-on. We advocate for transparency in the operations of international bodies, like the World Health Organization and the United Nations. Our organization commits to monitoring these developments closely, educating our members about their potential implications and preparing them to advocate effectively against overreach. We will work to ensure that any actions taken on the international stage respect the sovereignty of nations and the rights of all individuals. Engaging in forums where international policy forums are discussed, influenced decision-making processes, and ensuring that our voices are heard in the halls of power are crucial steps we must take. By doing so, we aim to safeguard our liberties and maintain the balance between global cooperation and national sovereignty. I urge each of you to remain vigilant and informed about these developments. Participate in our advocacy efforts, attend our educational sessions, and spread the word within your communities. Together, we can form a bulwark against any initiative that may threaten our rights and freedoms. Let us reinforce our dedication to vigilance and advocacy. The landscape of global politics and health governance is ever-changing, and our commitment to standing firm in our principles and proactive in our actions is more critical than ever. With Freedom Train International, you are not alone in this fight. You are part of a powerful community that is ready to defend and preserve our cherished way of life against any overreach. Another pressing concern that we must address involves the deployment strategies of British military personnel, particularly in the context of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. There is increasing apprehension that these deployments are not just tactical military decisions, but may also serve a dual purpose, potentially orchestrated to remove soldiers and officers who are deeply loyal to the British public from the domestic scene. The implications of such a strategy are profound and deeply unsettling. By sending these dedicated and potentially dissenting forces to a distant theatre of war, the concern is that they are deliberately being kept from intervening or assisting in domestic matters should significant civil unrest or governmental overreach occur. This action could be perceived as a cautionary measure by those in power to ensure that no capable organised resistance within the military could come to the aid of the British people in times of internal crisis. The potential motivations behind such decisions might stem from a desire to maintain control during tumultuous times, particularly when popular measures or legislations are enacted. The absence of these loyal troops on home soil during critical periods could leave the general population more vulnerable and less capable of asserting their rights against possible governmental overreach. This strategy not only raises questions about the erosion of trust between the government and the armed forces, but also highlights a deeper issue of how military deployments are utilised as a tool for political and social control. rather than solely for national defence and security. Freedom Train International views these developments with great concern. We stand for the integrity and independence of our military forces and advocate for their role as defenders of the nation, not as political pawns in gamesmanship for the government. It is crucial that we maintain a vigilant watch over such strategies and push for transparency and accountability in the deployment of our military personnel. We call upon military families, veterans, and indeed all those who are in active service to join us in this vigilance. Together, we can and will ensure that the role of our military remains honourable and focused on genuine national security interests, rather than being manipulated to serve narrower, potentially undemocratic processes. So let us commit to keeping the principles of freedom, integrity, and justice at the forefront of our actions and policies. Let us not allow the strategic manipulations of our armed forces to go unchecked. With Freedom Train International, you have a platform and a voice in this critical dialogue. Together we will safeguard our rights and ensure our military remains a staunch protector of our freedoms and a true force for good. These measures, while publicised as necessary for health protection, could severely impact our civil liberties and exacerbate an already polarised society. If history serves as a guide, the imposition of such restrictions in a highly charged political climate could lead to widespread protests, civil disobedience, and potentially even violent clashes, pushing the nation towards a precipice of internal conflict, reminiscent of civil unrest not seen in decades. The current globalist agenda is advanced significantly under the guise of addressing these very problems. Technologies and initiatives such as digital IDs, central bank digital currencies, and the development of highly surveilled 15-minute cities promise enhanced security and sustainability. However, they also pave the way for unprecedented levels of control over individuals' lives, posing grave risks to personal freedoms and privacy. International organisations like the United Nations and the World Health Organization have increasingly extended their influence into international policies, often bypassing or diluting the sovereignty of states under the pretext of global cooperation. This influence is particularly concerning, as it can lead to policies that promote globalist interests over national or individual interests, further eroding the democratic fabric of nations. Compounding these issues is the significant issue of erosion of trust with political institutions. This erosion is driven by widespread perceptions of corruption, inefficiency, and the undue influence of powerful elitists, from the lobbying scandals in Washington, D.C., to the opaque dealings of the European Union. These perceptions have led to political disenfranchisement on a massive scale. Citizens increasingly feel alienated from the very institutions meant to represent them, leading to a dangerous cycle of cynicism and disengagement. In response to these sweeping changes, the voices of nationalists and patriots have never been more important. These individuals stand as sentinels against the erosion of national values and sovereignty. They champion the preservation of cultural identities and advocate for governance that is responsive and accountable to the people, not distant bureaucracies or unaccounted international bodies like the World Economic Forum run by Klaus Schwab. Freedom Train International is at the forefront of addressing these challenges. We offer not just a platform for voicing concerns, but active tools for change. Our initiatives to educate members about the geopolitical landscapes, the intricacies of global health policies, and the mechanisms of international influence. We empower our members to engage in informed advocacy to shape policies, and to strengthen their communities against overreach. I call upon each of you to deepen your engagement with our mission. We are shortly releasing detailed and comprehensive information to our members and encourage you to participate in our programs, educate your peers, and prepare your communities for the challenges that lie just ahead. Whether it's through community organising, political participation, or personal preparedness, your active involvement is crucial. Together, we can counter the narratives that seek to undermine our freedoms and lay the groundwork for a future that respects our sovereign rights and personal liberties. So let us commit to carrying forward the torch of freedom and enlightenment that Freedom Train International holds aloft. Let this light guide us and others who seek to navigate these tumultuous times while preserving their freedoms. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your unwavering commitment to our cause. Together, we are far more than just observers or participants in the unfolding story of our times. We are its determined authors, ready to defend and preserve our cherished ways of life. As I always like to point out, you guys are the real stars of this show, and I'm grateful to each and every one of you for liking and sharing this content. This is Jim Ferguson. We will speak soon. Bye-bye for now.